Well, welcome everybody to this live show that has been postponed and rescheduled, and then I got the time wrong and fixed the time, and now we're actually earlier than that time. So Matt, if we actually have any live viewers, it'll be a bit of a small miracle here, but it's good to be back
Mhm.
on with you. We missed a week due to scheduling conflicts. That's just kind of how it works over here. I think anyone can understand that trying to connect with someone 6 hours earlier is just a bit difficult during the week. Matt has a job. I mean, surprising, right? But
And
Matt
Kevin does
works,
not. Yeah.
and I have children that I have to put in bed. So somehow we make it
Yeah.
work. But we're glad. Yeah, glad to be back, and some interesting topics. A lot of going around in the semi-trad world, which Matt and I obviously would like to opine on. And just coming into this, just a few minutes ago, we watched a video, or I did. I watched part of the video of the Pete Hegseth
Hmm.
takedown of the generals of the U.S. military, and pretty interesting stuff. So I guess Matt, I guess first of all, how you doing? You staying healthy so far? This is like the sickness season. Like it's gotten really cold here. It's like it feels
Yeah,
like
we
really deep fall, and it's just like, man, I'm so worried. And we have a wedding to go to this weekend, and I'm so worried that everyone's going to get sick. So
well,
hopefully
it's
not.
kind of warm here. I know you think
Yeah.
in
Oh,
Celsius now. Yeah, I know you think in Celsius now, but they were saying on Monday, so October, what's that going to be? October, I don't know, maybe 5th or something is going to be almost 90
what?
degrees here.
90?
That's yeah, upper 80s.
Dude, it's like
Yeah.
it's like 35 here
And
right
this
now.
is New England. Oh, you're
Whoa.
cold. Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
cold. No, it's cold. It's like cold. Like
Where
we needed to make a fire type cold.
make a fire. This is what
Almost.
Al
Yeah.
Gore was talking about.
Yeah.
It's hot out
Yeah.
there.
Global
I
freezing.
don't know. You're right though. We usually have a streak where one of us is like deathly ill, and then once one of us gets better, the other one is like, it's coming on. I
Yeah,
feel it.
exactly. It's
I
coming.
feel it in the
And then we
nose.
miss we miss like 3 out of 4 weeks
Yeah.
due to illness. We
I
we need some people on the bench, Matt. I think we need some bench
like a fill-in
podcasters because
host.
yeah, we need
Yeah.
fill in.
All the
Yeah, you
greats
got we
have
need
it.
someone to jump on. Yeah, right. Exactly.
Did you know there's a guy? I think it was his name is Andrew Wilkow. He hosts a Sirius XM channel, and he kind of got a break because he was involved in local radio, and he filled in one night for either Glenn Beck or Sean Hannity, one of those two on the radio. And the listeners were like, "Oh, really? Like, did a good
Hmm.
job." And he's a 7-figure salary kind of guy,
There you go.
sitting in front of a microphone, kind of like you, Kev. So
I know. Yeah, I'm not quite
you live similar
seven
lives.
figure,
Yeah,
not quite
yeah.
seven figure, but I'm pushing it. I am pushing it. Just hey, as you saw on X, I just got myself a tripod after 3 years. So moving up, man, moving up in the world.
I think that's a
We're doing
pricey
big
camera
things.
though you have. I think that's a nice,
Semi, yeah, $200, something like that.
that's
I
way
I
more than that.
no no
No, that's $1,000 camera.
no the Sony. No,
Really?
it's a couple $100. Two fifty
Alright.
maybe. Sony SV1. You
Okay.
can look it up. No, it's not that expensive. It's a decent streaming camera, but it's not great.
Gotcha.
The battery's
Gotcha.
terrible.
I was actually shocked. I spent maybe sometime last summer, I'm like, "Oh, let me look at some podcasting, like, equipment and all that." It can get really pricey. People
It
can
can.
really
Yeah.
I saw, I saw a camera or a microphone that I don't know if it was not Joe Rogan, but one of those people uses. It's a $600 microphone. Like, are you going to sound that much better? I don't know.
I
I don't
mean,
know.
that's actually interesting. I mean, mine is 300, something like that.
But they
And it's
get
it's
and then
good
people
money.
have audio switch things and all that. Like, wow,
Yeah. No, they
you
get
can
crazy.
really a studio.
Someday. One of these days when we go syndicated, Matt,
Right, right, right.
we'll move it.
People have messaged me asking what happened to the show. Apparently, they don't. Not
Oh.
everybody knows that it's. Yeah, I've gotten a
Oh, that's
few.
on Tuesdays. Yeah, I had
Yeah,
someone
well,
say
they're
that too. They usually on Monday mornings.
Yeah, but when you go to your channel, if you click show or videos that we don't show up, you have to click live. So people don't even know because if they click for the video
Yeah, I
subsection
hate
there,
that.
they're
That's
not.
such a stupid thing with YouTube.
It is.
Oh, it
It
drives
is.
me
They made it
crazy.
like Facebook almost now.
Yeah, like dude, just put it on the videos. I mean, it was a video. I
Yeah.
that it drives me nuts. No, I don't
I
understand why they do that.
watched I see Fran here commenting. We should argue about Barry Bonds.
Oh
She
my
loves
gosh.
this. She loves
Yeah,
this
Fran.
conversation.
Fran, I had such a high regard for your opinion until you argued for Barry Bonds being in the Hall of Fame. Cheater.
But really quick, I know this is not on our list at all, but you are against all of them, right, Kev? Clemens and all of them.
I'm certainly against them having the records. With them being in the Hall of Fame, I
But
think it's actually a little more nuanced because like Barry Bonds had an amazing career before he used PEDs, but and I think for that, yeah, I could see him being in the Hall of Fame. For him having the all-time home run record, no way, never, not in a billion years. No, he
a
cheated. He
billion.
cheated to get those home runs. So you can't take that from
Okay.
Hank Aaron. You can't take that. But who was it would, I mean, so it couldn't be McGuire. So I think it's Roger Maris, right? Back in 1961. He should be the single season record.
Aaron Judge.
Did he pass it?
62. Mhm.
Ah,
Yeah, in
nice. Okay,
2022.
fair enough.
Yeah,
Fair enough. Then Aaron
yeah.
Judge.
What's interesting is that it wasn't, you said Roger Maris? Is that
I think so. Wasn't it Maris in 19?
yeah, right, right, right.
Something like
Let's save it. Oh, she says I'm driving. She can't argue about it now. Roger Maris's
Good
son
excuse for me.
does not acknowledge Bonds. Like he's not
Good.
he
You
does not
shouldn't.
believe that
You shouldn't.
but if Cal Raleigh went 14 for 14 with 14 home runs the other night, that would have been it. He would have broken that. He would have broken the record.
That's true.
What if we find out that he cheated though? Cal Raleigh or Aaron Judge. What if we find out Judge is roided up?
Prove that he cheated, then he should not have a record.
Take him out.
Yeah, take out the record. It should
Take him
be.
out.
You can say, "Hey, here's a cool record for guys who cheated." You know, Mark McGuire, Barry Bonds, Sammy Sosa,
The cheating book.
Clemens. Yeah, but you don't get to be with the guys who didn't cheat. It just doesn't work.
But you
It's not how life works.
You do agree with Pete Rose being in, right? I think you have said before. Yeah,
Totally.
yeah. Because that is an unrelated sort of.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to say he's banned from managing baseball, yeah, that's fair.
As a dead man.
Banned from the Hall of Fame as a player is one of the dumbest decisions.
It is pretty unrelated. World. Yeah, it is pretty an unrelated consequence.
It's ridiculous.
It's kind of like saying you crashed your car while driving, so no dinner for you tonight. You know, like what about the car?
Wait, huh? Yeah, exactly. No, I'm with you. Yeah,
fix the car.
But speaking of steroids, Pete Hegseth.
Yeah.
Good segue.
Did you want to mention that?
Yeah. Let's just real briefly. I mean, I mentioned in the opener. I only watched a couple minutes of it, but pretty much Pete Hegseth, who's the Secretary of War now, right?
Yes.
Came out and really laid into the generals and really to the military, saying, "Hey, we're going to pretty much." To sum it up, we're going to toughen things up. We're going to make it so that even the top generals have to be physically fit. They have to pass physical tests once a year. They have to actually exercise every day. No longer will they have different tests for female soldiers to be able to at least serve in combat units. And it looks like, yeah, already, as you would expect on Twitter, you know, the liberals are losing their mind. Like, see, he hates women and stuff. And I mean, from the few things I've seen, I literally have only seen a few minutes of this, so I don't know the whole story, but I think it's awesome. I mean, I think this is a guy who's trying to make a lethal military. And I mean, compared to what it was under Biden, you know, and purple-haired gay people, you know, leading the military, I'm a fan.
Well, I'm just fixing my ear thing. 1 second. Okay. He made some statements saying that you have to be a certain weight requirement, a certain height requirement, which can you be too tall? Here comes Goliath.
Yeah, you're 6'8". I'm afraid.
Yeah, unfortunately, you're too big for us. And he talked about doing PT, you know, personal
physical training.
Physical training. Wow, I was blanking out there. Physical training every day by the units, and having to complete physical training requirements and certain thresholds twice a year for like tests, I guess you would say, once in maybe the summer, once again in winter. You have to be able to pass certain training exams to be qualified and to remain qualified. The thing with, I think, that is, first, I mean, why, how is that I don't see how that in and of itself objectively is a bad thing. Because yeah, it is kind of funny when your military is a bunch of homosexuals and pink haired, green haired, they thems. And I think that how can anything be wrong with putting um, requirements for this duty? The only thing that again rubs me the wrong way, I guess, about this, and as a whole scope sort of thing, is what are they gathering the military for? Is it for a war in Iran, Afghanistan, Venezuela? Not that it's bad to have a military that is in shape, and I think the military parade was quite embarrassing for our country when you watch North Korea, China, Japan host military parades, which are very well done, very, very artistic, and very well coordinated. I would certainly like to see a very well put together, excellent decorum, disciplined military. It's just, I don't know. Do you think they're trying to drive? Are they trying to beat a war drum a little bit? I certainly hope not.
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think I really do believe. I mean, whatever you want to think about Trump, and I know you've become more black pilled against him, but I do really think that a he wants peace. I really think that's true. I think partly because he wants economic prosperity for America, and I don't think he wants that through war. And I think primarily, I think he just out of vanity. I think he wants to be seen as the peace president, and I think he has proven that pretty well through his time as president. So I don't think they're certainly not looking for war. I don't like how he's handled Ukraine and Russia lately. I think yeah, there's a lot that goes on that we don't know, obviously, but I don't like that. I think it's better just like, hey, figure it out. Russia's going to take part of Ukraine, and we're done here. End of story. But that's not happening. I don't like what's happening in Israel, but I don't think Trump's going to go to war. I think this is Trump, and especially Hegseth's just saying, hey, we've become an embarrassment, and that's not acceptable for America. And I
Yeah,
think that's
I
that's
agree.
cool. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
I don't see how that's a bad thing. I mean, is it a bad thing that we don't have, women in combat? I'm sorry, Matt, and I know maybe there are people who are going to be listening to this who think, how can you not let women? What are we doing as a society when we're letting women fight
Of course.
in combat? That's insane. I think we've talked about that before. That's nuts. That's totally
That
nuts,
is
and
insane.
it's
That is
totally
absolutely
backwards.
insane. There's your women's rights for you.
I
Put them
know.
on the front line.
So much for
Uh,
me being a feminist.
I think, yeah, it's shame. It is interesting though how many people, when the Iranian airstrikes happened, which I opposed, and I think you supported. People were saying we're going to war with Iran. Here comes the war with Iran. That hasn't happened yet, and I don't, as of today, there doesn't appear to be any escalation of conflict in the area at all. So there are people, I think, on the other side, air quotes here, that always think that there's going to be this war. I haven't seen it. You probably remember how many times, Kev, since 9/11 have they told us that another 9/11 was a year or two away? Nothing has happened. There's a lot of that never has happened sort of talk, sort of speak. And
Well, look at
the,
the war in Iraq, right? I mean, they fabricated the whole thing. I mean,
mm,
there was no reason to go to Iraq. The whole reason they said it was because they had weapons of mass destruction, which is proven that they didn't. And so it was all a sham, and it was all a sham to to help boost, yeah, I mean, oil and the power in the region. And yeah, it's deeply, deeply immoral. And again, I've said this about a million times, but I've been reading this gigantic book about John Adams, and it's like, boy, if you look at what America was actually founded on, really one of the founding principles was not to be involved in wars, and not to go and not to be an empire, not to seek to expand and to conquer other countries. It's like, well, shoot, what has America been the last 60
what's
years? Certainly not that.
it makes me think of a 2000 and I want to say 8 or 12 debate with Ron Paul, who I liked a lot and still like in a lot of ways. Um, I remember a question posed to him was because he was very much vocal about pulling out of Afghanistan, pulling out of Iraq, and one of the moderators said to him, "Would you still pull out of the region if all of your generals said that that was a bad idea?" And his response to that very, very cleverly was, "I believe my title is commander in chief. The generals do what I say." And I thought that was a really strong and powerful response from him with that. The president is the commander in chief, and
Yeah.
I think that that usually, they delegate to the generals and to those on the ground in the area, sure. But I thought that was a great reply, and I do wonder what the world would look like today with men like Pat Buchanan or like Ron Paul in charge. They never would have gotten there. They never would have been able to do the missions they were entrusted to do with Iraq and all. Just think about how. I mean, I remember those days very well. I was very well into it. Uh, All of the airstrikes in Afghanistan, Operation Tora Bora. I remember that very well. That was December of 2001. I remember it very well. And then all the narrative became, we have to go into Iraq. I remember thinking very Bush. I thought a war with North Korea was imminent. Condoleezza Rice was speaking very, very harshly on them. I thought a war with North Korea was coming. It didn't happen. And here we are today in 2025. The Secretary of War saying, "Don't be fat." Starts with That's what that's all he should. If he said that, I would have. That Kev. That means Rosie O'Donnell can't serve. That's a shame.
Is a shame.
That's
That
a
really is
shame. That's a shame.
Well, I'd be curious, anyone in the comments, what do you guys think about it? I don't know if you guys have seen from Hegseth what he said, but what do you think about women serving in the military? I mean, just in general, I'm really curious. I mean, to me, it's like not even a question, but I think when you see some things on social media, I don't think it's not as a universal a belief as I would think. I think a lot of these things with women's quote unquote rights and equality and stuff, they go deep. They go real deep, and I think it's these are the types of things that still kind of surprise me. And it's like, again, just thinking of what society should be, and I think how God made it to be, and thinking in women fighting in any form. I mean, if you want to go back to with the supposed Amazonians or Sparta or whatever, none of it would never make sense for women to fight. I'm not just saying in our times. It's a very backwards idea.
Well, no country ever would have really done it back then. They would have been an insane notion.
Well, I mean, they're just so different. I mean, they're weaker, they're more emotional, and of course, they are. I mean, how do you put this politely? Men who are going to battle and war are probably not going to be the best company for a woman, right? I mean, this is pretty basic, logic here. It's so dumb. I mean, it's just one of those things that I'm glad that it is changing, even if it's for a short time. And moving on, I don't know if you have been reading anything lately from Kennedy Hall. First of all, I'd like to get your opinion on Pelican Plus, Matt. Are you going to be a premium subscriber or a super premium subscriber?
I saw the name, Kev. You're gonna not be happy. I don't know what that is. I saw the name. I don't know what it is or what it does. Sorry.
Oh, really?
I have no idea.
It's like a podcasting platform with all of the semi-trads. Or not all of them, a group of them.
Wait, was this where Peter Kwasniewski says we are the guardians of the Catholic religion here?
I think
that's
so.
This.
Yeah.
That's this. Oh, okay. I saw the name and then I saw an unrelated post about these men grouped together in this article, and I didn't make quite the connection that this is what was happening. Okay. Oh man. See. Here we go again. This is like my niche. No, that's not the word for it. Niche. This is where I thrive. Let me adjust myself in my seat before I
roll up your sleeves, man.
Here we go again, where the people, I wish one of them would just pop on here one of these days. If your audience was a little bigger, you could get one of them.
14 people watching is not going to quite do it, but
yeah.
Share this video, guys.
Is that what it is? I don't even see that. I don't even see it anywhere.
It's 14. That's pretty bad.
14.
I think I confused people. I confused people with my scheduling. So that's
you have to watch this. That's all right.
Yeah. True title too.
It's the same thing, and how can I even word this? This sort of stuff that this semi-trad, I think Mario coined that term, if I'm not mistaken. Semi-trad crowd does is what completely pulled me out, one of many reasons, of the semi-trad circle, because how does it make any sense for these guys to not only put out content, which is fine if you want to post magisterial documents and share church teaching on issues, okay, I don't think I oppose that in any aspect, but they do so under the guise of, we here are the guardians of tradition, don't necessarily always look to Rome. That is textbook. Put the bold, put it in italics, put it in underline, make the font red. That is textbook schism, because they have once again promoted the no authority, you have no authority crowd is once again given themselves the authority to promulgate, to teach, and to correct. This is coming from a man, Peter Kwasniewski, who from his MacBook Air laptop declared that documents promulgated by the Holy See on the Universal Church are null and void. These are the people who in the same breath say, you don't have the authority to say that so and so is or is not the Pope. It's fine to put out material. Novus Ordo Watch does it. A lot of channels do it. It's great. But to say that rather than look towards Rome, but look here for an authentic, traditional Catholic experience is quite fascinating. Jeff Kassman used to host a podcast. I don't know if he does it anymore. He used to host a series where he would say, welcome to tradition. You're going to watch my channel and leave this Catholic religion that you know it and come to the traditional Catholic religion that I'm about to teach you. This is the same guy who said at the time Francis was the vicar of Christ on earth. Who's the supreme teacher of Christians here? The Pope or Jeff Kassman? This sort of conundrum is suffocating to people who think that, because I knew people like this. I was friends, I won't name names, but I was friends with a guy years ago, and his mother was so entrenched in reading every word that Peter Kwasniewski, Jeff Kassman, Michael Matt posted, that was their living rule of faith. And I kid you not, I used to get messages or emails or whatever like, did you see what Taylor Marshall talked about last night? That was it. But at the same time, acknowledging that the hierarchy in Rome was the teaching church, the magisterial church, the authority to whom no appeals can be made to, the highest authority on this earth. It's just silly, and for some reason or another, they do not tolerate the position of sedevacantism. It is so they consider it absurd. Their position is absurd, and I don't know. I actually, Timothy Flanders, if you know him, he recently blocked me. I exchanged a few messages with him. They do not see it. They do not see it. It's just a mess.
Well, and it's just so interesting too, as you say, they don't make any sense. I mean, I've been following Kennedy Hall on X, and he recently, I can't find, I'm trying to find the tweet and I can't find it, but he recently said something about like, one of their typical arguments of, I don't need to listen to anything that comes from Vatican II because there's nothing binding in it. It's not binding from the church. It's not ex cathedra. It's just it's just the thing is like, I've been doing this series with Louis Vecchio. And it's like, I mean, you can, I had it pulled up actually the other day, but I mean, it says solemnly promulgated by Paul VI. And he says clearly at the end of the council that this is binding, at least that certain documents are absolutely binding on every Catholic. Bergoglio just said that, right before he died. So it's like, what are these guys? They're mad. They're just trying to, they're pulling the lampshades. They're gaslighting. I mean, it's purely lying. They're making things up. And he just one more before you get on, just one more thing. He just posted too. I just saw someone, Vatican News, Pope Leo releases his prayer intention for month of October, collaboration between different religious traditions. This is Vatican. That's the Vatican News. Kennedy Hall responded, if you are St. John Paul the Great, bro, you aren't allowed to be mad at this. And it's just like, what are you talking about? He's calling him a saint. He says he's the Pope, and he's just like, yeah, you don't have, I mean, you're a joke if you believe this. Who are these people, mad? This is so insane. This is so absurd, this whole group of people.
When they say that Vatican II made no dogmatic statements. What they are trying to say, they don't always have the language for it, is that it didn't issue any anathemas, which are very common to an ecumenical council. And it didn't issue, the if anyone says fill in the blank, let him be anathema. It did not issue any of those because it saw it to be something against its ecumenical nature. So, okay. But what people don't understand is that a council is written in two ways: canons, which are stated in a positive way, a teaching, and then anathemas, which state the same thing, but in a negative way. Both of these statements are infallible. So just because Vatican II does not have any anathemas in it, its canons, its positive statements, its actual positive teachings are infallible. Just a quick example I can make, I'll use the Blessed Virgin here. The positive canon would be the Blessed Virgin Mary was conceived without the stain of original sin. That's a positive. Turning it into the negative, if anyone shall say that the Blessed Virgin Mary was conceived without the stain of original sin, let him be anathema. It is the same thing, but in a positive and a negative. Both are the infallible declaration. Just because the council does not have any negatives, any anathemas, does not mean that its positives, its canons are not infallible. They are. And as you said, when these documents were promulgated, Paul VI used solemn language, and he promulgated them, saying that everything here is from the authority of Christ. And those powerful words are ex cathedra. Paul VI was not speaking as just a nice guy here at a coffee shop. He invoked the authority of Christ himself as saying things like, we profess religious liberty. If you cannot hear our blessed Lord and Savior Jesus Christ say these things coming from his mouth, then we have a problem. And for men like Kennedy Hall, they can't seem to work. I get the position of being like, we somehow need a pope, we somehow need a higher, we somehow need the. I get where they're afraid, and the SSPX really does a nice job of trying its best to sandwich the two things together. But it's brutal, 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 and ultimately, when it is weighed against actual Catholic teaching, it completely collapses. A Catholic I remember Mario. I was driving to work. It had to be 3 years ago at this point. And I used to listen to I've gone through all of them, all of the Tradcasts. And Mario said, how is this supposed to work? The Catholic listens to the magisterium, and then he pulls out his iPhone and Googles it to see whether or not he can agree with it.
Right.
This is a do-it-yourself church where you hear, and then you've got to research. That is not what Christ
I seriously
left
thought
us
about
with.
this with these guys, and I can't use St. Peter as an example because he was the public revelation. But let's say St. Linus, the second pope of the church. And I mean this really, sincerely. Like, if these guys, Kennedy Hall and his ilk, would they actually, in the time of St. Linus, the second pope, would they have just been like, yeah, it's nice, or it's not. He didn't say that it's ex cathedra. He didn't say that is binding. So yeah, it's fine. I don't really. You're actually kind of an idiot if you listen to this guy. That's what Matt. That's what they're saying.
I
This is what
know.
Kennedy Hall is saying. He's like he is making fun of you if you're a John Paul, a Saint John Paul II bro. Matt, these guys are clowns. These guys are clowns. It boggles my mind that anyone gives them any attention whatsoever. They're a total joke, and it's just incredible. If you spend 2 minutes thinking about it, it's like, wait a second, what? You're making fun of someone for saying that they believe in Saint John Paul II? How
They
does that make any
truly,
sense, man? As you
they
say, they're
just
their own religion.
they just don't understand the
Authority.
church. They just don't understand the church. And Father Salvani's Liberalism is a Sin really highlights a lot of this. It's a very short book. I've mentioned it on here many times. It's a very easy read, but it highlights a lot of the issues, because I used to attend all of these R&R parishes, and I can remember being in the parking lot or the back room or whatever, and every week a whole bunch of us would gather outside of our cars and summarize, what did Francis say today, or what came out of Rome this past week, what sort of outrageous, outlandish, blasphemous statement was put out there since we last talked. And that to me was just okay. I didn't see the hierarchical needs of the church as I, clearly saw the church intended them to be. It's just so much a different perspective on what the church is and how it operates. And as you said, every time Peter spoke in scripture, there was never a debate about it. There was never a showing of hands as to whether or not you agreed. What you do see time and time and time again is that Peter spoke and it was final. It was binding upon all Christians. Heretics, or I should say converts, when they were coming into the church, they had to be presented to Peter. It wasn't just well, I guess I'm going to convert to Christianity now because it just makes sense to me. They had to physically show themselves to the supreme pontiff and be welcomed into this perfect society of men, which is the Roman Catholic, which is what the Roman Catholic Church is. So people are so, I remember Kennedy Hall saying, I couldn't trust Bergoglio to catechize my children. Okay, but this is the man that you have to acknowledge as the supreme teacher of all Christians, and that converts and that anybody had to present themselves to in order to be accepted into this society. It's just so messed up. I see you're pulling up a video here, maybe, Kev.
I'm trying to, but it's not seeming to work. It's just the Kennedy Hall. It's just remarkable.
German internet.
I don't know. It's not. Yeah, exactly. It's not loading.
Maybe try one more time.
I still can't believe the post from Prevost, from Leo the 14th. His prayer intention for the month of October, inviting the faithful to pray for collaboration between different religious traditions. That's so wild.
Because Christ is one of many, one factor of many. There are synodal mysteries now. Did you see this?
It's synodal. Oh, that's good to know.
Of the Rosary.
I did see that.
Yes, there's a new, and I'm sure anybody listening to this can guess can guess what these mysteries probably. And I looked at it, I forget, it was about a week ago. Accompaniment, and the cry. There was one workshop at these things here, listening to the cry of the earth. That is Bergoglian language that appears to just be alive and well here. Synodal mysteries, come on. There they are. I see them here. It's like 40 of them. Yeah, because they released they did like their whole set, so it's like 15, 30, 40, or 5, 10, 50, I don't remember, but there's a whole bunch. There's a whole bunch. Mark Fisher, the Catholic Church prohibited Catholics from publishing or broadcasting without church approval. That's true. It is absurd that they would publicly sin in such an obvious way. I'm not sure what you mean there, Mark.
I think he's saying we're sinning by having this podcast. Well, then, Mark, I guess you're probably sinning by listening to us. So you better turn on.
So the thing with saying things like that is, in normal times, then probably, yes, you would need ecclesiastical approval. In fact, and I'm sure you've said this, Kev, before, any debate or anything like that needed to be approved of by the laymen. Were not to just go here and there and engage in debates about religion with one another. That was completely prohibited. But because of the times we are in and what we recognize, that's the problem. So Mark needs to direct his claim here to those who do consider Leo the Pope, and tell them to stop putting up these channels and these networks and telling us what real Catholicism is, when we have the Supreme Pontiff in Rome to do that.
Well, and I imagine some of that's also in speaking on faith and morals, right? I mean, I think that would be more so in that direction, rather than if you're commenting on Kennedy Hall. The church isn't going to say you can't do that. I mean, as far as I understand, I don't know the exact canon or anything, but I mean, the point is not that you can't just talk about things. The point is that you and I can't go and teach.
Correct. You can't be
publicly without the approval of
you couldn't be like you're not a visible spokesman of the church. You don't represent the church.
Exactly.
Right. Which a clerk
Mark,
would.
Be a little careful about what you're throwing away around about people sinning. So I imagine you're probably a Feniad, because most most only Fenites talk like that. But you take care of yourself,
Maybe
Mark.
he'll
It,
maybe he'll
so, and Matt, I
clarify.
know we wanted
Take care of
to
yourself.
get yeah,
Have
take care of
a
yourself,
nice
especially if you're a
dinner.
Fenite. Yeah, if you're a Fenite, take
Ahem.
real good care of yourself because yeah, you're in a bad spot. But we wanted to talk about the kind of on the same topic, the culling of the Latin Mass in America. And I think there are a few more going
Mm,
on, right? I know that the big one in Charlotte
yes,
has been the recent news,
quite
but I think there are a
large.
couple more. One in Texas, I think, as well, right?
Yeah, I've seen a few videos of people saying that this is our last permitted Latin mass. Excuse me, the bishop is shutting it down, and we have nowhere to go. It happened in Michigan. I think they lost a few of their large churches as well that offer this liturgy. And the thing that people have to really understand is that the bishops shutting down these traditional masses are simply following directives from the Holy See. So if we know that to be infallibly safe, then people need to be really careful saying things like, this is evil, this is wrong. They're not doing it because why don't I just really harm the lives of this flock of faithful here? This is really a promulgation of directives from Rome that they're simply implementing in their diocese, and they're free to do so. Um, it's under the scope of discipline and governance, which has that infallibility of protection. Uh, so this whole outrage over it is quite silly, but people also see, and I think that people are more and more starting to see that the Father de Say gave a sermon, I believe it was last weekend, where he said the Novus Ordo is like a play where the cleric puts on the vestments and simply recites some words and some prayers of the Last Supper. They don't see it like the actual Catholic Mass, where the priest acts in persona Christi and offers a sacrifice to God for the church, etc. And so once they understand that the new liturgy, the Novus Ordo Missae, cannot coexist, or I'm sorry, I flipped that. The old mass, the traditional mass, cannot coexist with the new religion promulgated by Vatican II. That's why there's all these problems. So that is one reason why we have all this mess. And so um people are just not understanding that those two things cannot coexist. And the sooner they realize it, the better off they are in coming to our position, because that is where we are theologically consistent. I support, and I know it's gotten me some hate in the past. I support completely shutting down all of these indult Latin
Yeah,
masses,
for sure.
because it's just they need to end. It is a high Anglican mass that needs to go. Anything you want to chime in there, Kev? Quick, white.
Well, Cinderella, we
Yeah.
love Mother Mary too, so good comment. I like that one.
Cinderella.
Yeah, and I think it's a really interesting idea of what what does Leo actually think of the Latin Mass? And he gave that interview
Oh,
recently where I don't know if he even understands it. I think Matt, I think you have a bunch of these boomers, and even yeah, I think they're most of them are boomers. I think Bergoglio may have been a little older, but I mean, certainly Leo is a boomer.
yeah.
So I think that they legitimately don't get it. They have their ways, they have their kumbaya, wring your hands, you feel good, the very ecumenical church, and that's just what they know. That's what they think is Catholic, because that's what they've known since the 1960s. Right? I mean, like, Leo grew up with that. And I think that they don't get it when the younger people are starting to say, no, we don't like what you're doing. We hate this liberal garbage. We want something different. We want something traditional. Literally, we want something actually divine. And I think they don't even get it. I think Leo is like, what are they talking about? Like, what is the big deal? And then I think you have these bishops, supposed bishops around who are, they're more ideological or extreme. And honestly, from what you hear from Leo, I think he's just kind of like, yeah, whatever, I don't care, get rid of it or
Mm,
not. Maybe he's more extreme. I don't know. What do you think?
you would be shocked as to how many Catholics have no idea that a Latin Mass exists. It is. I cannot even tell you how many of people are clueless on this issue. If you go around and you just truly put it to the test, you probably know a bunch of people who call themselves Catholic, right? Ask them if they've ever been to a Latin mass. They have no idea what to say to that. Um, and I found that to be true. The more I kind of branched out and went to different churches and tried to tell people. And I mean, I remember going to a very large church with probably over 1,000 people who attended throughout on Sunday at their various masses that they had, Novus Ordo services that they had, and bringing up points to them like, hey, did you know that like maybe about an hour away you have a beautiful Latin mass? None of them knew what I was talking about, a Latin mass. So
Yeah.
I think he is in this mold here. It's a completely non-issue for him. If he
Yeah.
sees it, if it comes across his table, he probably thinks that this is nice.
But
I
that
don't
was his
know if
comments,
he's
man. He was like, yeah, they can say the Novus Ordo Mass in Latin, I guess. That's like what he said. It's like I think he's literally like, what are they talking about? What Latin Mass? Like what?
yeah, they
Tridentine? I
no
don't think he
idea.
like I don't know if he knows.
Yeah.
I'm probably being a little naive here, but I mean it's really interesting because I think Bergoglio hated it, and I think he
I
was
agree.
passionate. Bergoglio was a pagan. I mean, I think a legitimate pagan. And I think Prevost is more just kind of like let's put flowers on our head and dance around and kind of this chill Chicagoan and
I
it's
knew
an interesting shtick, and I think what's going to be really hard for Kennedy Hall and his ilk on Pelican Plus. What's their content going to be, man? What I mean, like Prevost is so, blah. He's going to say some things, but he's just not going to give as much content as Bergoglio did. He'll shut down some Latin
I
masses, but what are they going to say? It's what they've been doing for decades now.
I'm a radical, by the way. Um,
Me too.
see that over there. The things I can't say before this microphone. Um, it's quite a list. Um, yeah, I think Prevost is just kind of indifferent. Whereas, well, I shouldn't say whereas, but Bergoglio was a enemy. He hated the old mass. I think Prevost could look at it and truly say, "Oh, it's nice and whatever." I think Bergoglio had a deep hatred of this, an absolute disgust of it. There are seminarians in the Novus Ordo world. There are newly ordained Novus Ordo priests who, them too, have no idea what the Latin Mass is. And I know this because I've tried speaking to them about it.
Mm,
I remember, so it's just funny how, you think about the stages in your life, whereas you didn't have to go through this, Kev, but you think about the stages in your life where I remember I would meet some older priests, and I went to a church once, and the priest was in there actually. I used to kind of do some church hopping just to see, because here in New England, there's so many churches that are over 100 years old. They're glorious,
mhm.
majestic inside, probably nothing like Europe, but just here,
Ooh,
just beautiful
so
here in a lot of ways.
sure.
Which I know that the South, I've heard is lacking in. I haven't been to too many down there, but um, and there was a priest I met, and I would ask him questions like, "Hey, Father, this is when I was Novus Ordo. Hey, Father, I'm kind of curious, like, what year were you ordained in? It's and I met one. He was ordained in '59, so 1 year after the death of Pius XII. And then when I hear things like that, I can't help but ask more questions. And I asked him if he remembers the Latin Mass, and he said to me, we were sitting down in a pew because I was just looking at the intricate church there, and he said, "Oh yes, when I was first ordained to the priesthood, my first Mass was in Latin Mass." And I asked him, I said, "Do you miss it?" And this was probably about 2018, 2017, and he said, "No, not really." But then I would meet younger men, and I would bring it up to that, like the warrior that I was, "Do you know about the Latin Mass?" And a lot of them had no clue about it. And or they would say things like, "Yeah, I've heard of it," or somebody said to me once there was such a thing. They're taught Vatican II. That's it. Bottom line.
Did you know, man? I was just I did a show with Louis Brecchio, which I highly recommend to everyone. We just did it on Sacrosanctum Concilium, which was the liturgical document from Vatican II, and it's all shocking.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everyone, please go watch the video when you're done with this one because it's crazy stuff. But one of the points it says, and it's giving advice to the priests, and it says, I forget the exact words. I'm obviously paraphrasing, but something like, "Be advised that while you are offering mass," I don't think they even said that. They don't use that nice of words. But anyway, as you're doing this service, be feel invited or inclined to give commentary and to give little opinions or advice or whatever during the ceremony. So just imagine this, man. This was back in, I think that was back in 1964. So up until that point, you'd had obviously the Latin Mass. Generally, I mean, obviously had the Eastern ones and whatnot, but in general, the Latin
Sure,
Mass.
right. It's
So
still right.
can you imagine reading these documents and thinking, okay, wait a second. So I'm saying the Mass, and then I'm turning to the people and saying, by the way, this is what it means. It's insane, man. I mean, guys. I mean, anyone in here who's still on the fence, go and watch these videos with Louis Verrecchio, because Vatican II is crazy. I mean, like I always know, everyone always tells you that. I didn't read the documents, but and you
The
do it with someone who really knows them inside and out, like Louis. It's crazy stuff, man. It's crazy.
in the deeper you dig as to why and how and who and what, it's wild. I'm watching a video now.
I hope not right
Uh,
now. Jeez, man.
yes, it's on in the. This is why I can't hear
Multitasking.
today on my on my head on my earbud thing. It's 2.5 hours long, so I don't have the attention span for that. I have to watch like 30 minutes and then take my walk. But a lot of it is, and I know this is so sensitive to people, the Jewish origins of it, and coming out of World War II, and taking all of that, the World War II narrative that we've been given and how it kind of made its way into documents into the church. It's so deep and so much, so intricate. And you look up, let me try to pull this up really quick. This name alone will blow your mind. Let me just look really quick here. I have I started to take advantage of the notes in Apple, and like it's just now I use it to take notes on podcasts I listen to. It's sad, and it's smart though. But like man,
Only if it works.
I saved it. Yeah, only if it works. I say it must be here. It's got to be here. Nope.
You know what was interesting to me? A couple of years ago, I was doing a show with Introibo, and we are talking about the Waldorf schools and the occultism of Waldorf schools. They're talking about Rudolf Steiner, who was the guy who founded them. And what's interesting that you delve into that, and then eventually it comes about that he was a big figure, or a literary icon, I suppose you could say, for JP2, and I think also Paul VI. And it's just interesting that so many things in this era, like you see all these things coming together. You kind of all of these strands of evil, and occultism and paganism and etc. And it all comes together, and a lot of it comes right to the Vatican.
Yeah, I found the name, Kev. Rose Thering. I think you would say that. So ROSE and then THERING. If you just Google that name, you will be up for 72 hours straight reading about this woman who was a nun and was a champion of ecumenism, of Catholic Jewish relations, and the Vatican caught wing of her. And she had a lot to say, and a lot to do, and a lot to impose, and a lot to write about in a lot of these documents, which are not so friendly to the Catholic religion, but promulgated upon us with the authority of Christ. So, wow.
Yeah,
People,
it's
people,
amazing.
people need to really it's bad. It's bad. And I think you know I got to be careful with what I say, because who knows when they're going to censor us and all that. There is so much, I guess, like there's so much Jewish thought involved into the thinking of the world today that people, they have lost the sense of actual Catholic thinking. So when you go back and actually read a lot of what the actual Catholic Church and magisterium teaches and taught, so many scales fall off your eyes. You can see more clearly, and like, wow. So these
Well, it's
documents.
interesting. I mean, whoever you want to blame things on, if it's the Jews, the Masons, I don't really know. Communists, I think a lot of them are kind of the same ideology. It's the devil, and I think that they do. Yeah, one of their primary tools is education, right? They get in young, they want to get the kids when they're young, and they change things so much they even change the form of education. They change how you're educated.
Of
The
course,
classical
of course.
education and the modern education are very different. And I think this is something that, as you say, exactly right. That I mean, again, Jews. I don't know who it is. Maybe I think that's fair. I mean, the communists. A lot of the major communists were Jews. I mean, you look at what happened in Russia, and I think that is that's their plan. They want to dominate and have power, and you get that through through putting what you want people to believe in their heads at a very early age.
St. Augustine, I have it here. Here we go. St. Augustine said, Judaism, since Christ, is a corruption indeed. Judas Iscariot is the image of the Jewish people. Their understanding of Scripture is carnal. They bear the guilt for the death of our Savior. For through their fathers they have killed Christ. The Jews held him, the Jews insulted him, the Jews bound him, and they crowned him with thorns. They scourged him, and they hanged him on a tree. And a lot of these things, truly, I mean, if you think about it, the Antichrist has been at war, or the devil, the devil has been at war with the Catholic religion since Good Friday, right? And sought to strike the shepherd, the vicar of Christ. And we see all of this come as a form of usurpation with the Vatican Council. It's very, very clear. And so I haven't actually watched those series, Kev, with you and Louis, but I'm sure they're a great dive, and very
They're
very
very
well
good.
done, and he speaks
Yeah.
so eloquently on very
Yeah.
in-depth matters, and knows. And I've watched a few shows with you, him, and other guests you've had, and he has a wonderful in-depth answer to every question posed to him. So certainly a polished, well-read researcher and speaker on these topics. So
Well,
I
and
wonder, does he go? Does he?
he knew the document. He before quote unquote converting, he went around and gave talks defending Vatican II and like promulgating
Yes,
Vatican II, if that's the
yes,
right word, and
yes.
so he knows these documents extremely well. So this is not just some guy. I mean, he is an expert on the actual documents of Vatican II. And so when he reads through them now with a
Mm.
full understanding and truth,
I had
it's shocking.
I had that phase one night where you know how like sometimes when you're driving in the car and you suddenly figured out all the problems in the world. Did you ever have that happen where like you're just struck with an idea? But I
Sometimes.
remember after being super R&R, thinking like, you know what, maybe I need to defend Vatican II. And then I remember saying to somebody, well, things were so bad in the 50s that they called the council for a reason. I remember using language like that because you try to wed the two things. Excuse me. You try to wed the two things together, and you find you're involved in all sorts of sticky situations. But anyway, and to quote Joe Biden, anyway.
Anyway, come on,
I kind of miss seeing him in the spotlight. Anywho,
yeah,
or are we?
yeah. There was a totally different level of insanity when he was president than it is. It's kind of boring. Even Trump, it's kind of like, yeah, you do kind of miss that old guy. Didn't know what he was doing, running into walls and stuff.
Falling off
You
his
don't you
bike.
wasn't he like isn't it that's such a weird thing, like, he was dying, like, he had cancer and he's dying, and now it's like you never hear about
He's
him
fine
ever.
now. He's
Is he
fine.
fine now? Yeah, it's like,
Have
was that just did
you
they just need a story they needed a story for a day? I mean, like, I
have
like,
you heard?
what was that?
They did need a story for the day. That's exactly what they needed. Have you read some excerpts of Kamala Harris's book?
No. Oh, Matt, okay, this is good, though. So we have a fantasy football league with a bunch of, like, my brothers and a
Oh,
couple other friends,
is your team
and
terrible?
no, they're okay. I won my
Okay, all
last
right.
week, so I'm 2-2. I'm all right. I had a lot of injuries, but the loser, the worst team, has to sit down, or not in one sitting, but as quickly as they can, they have to read Kamala's book. So
Oh,
that's the punishment for whoever loses the league, which is
yeah.
that's bad. Yeah, that's bad.
Did you know who she wanted as her VP? Did you read this?
Who she wanted? No, I didn't read that.
Yeah, she didn't want Tim Walz.
Oh, that does not
So
surprise me.
she here's the
Shapiro?
ex. No.
No, okay.
Any other guesses? He was the transportation secretary.
Buttigieg.
Yes.
That was my next
And
guess. Yeah.
in the book, do you know why she said she didn't pick him?
No.
Because he's gay.
What? Really?
Yeah. That's
She
in the
thought it'd
book.
be too. She thought that would be too divisive.
Yeah.
Right.
Kamala Harris 2028.
Yeah, right. Have you seen the rumors that they think that Buttigieg is actually not gay?
No.
I think that's a Candace Owens theory that he's actually not gay. It's actually just
yes,
it's
she
a front to
probably is
get
thinking
political
about that.
power, which is like, I actually could see
is-
someone doing something like that. That would be like, can you imagine if our world is so insane that you're actually pretending to be gay just to get political power?
Candace Owens is a little.
That's the world we live in. Yeah, Candace Owens
masculine.
is she's gone off the reservation a little bit.
She really has some points that are just really. I mean, there's one thing to notice the patterns. I think that is good. You can notice stuff. There's a shirt out there called The Great Noticer. I think we should start wearing them. But she comes up with these ideas. I said you'd come up with these ideas while you're driving some days. She comes up with these, like, I think it was her or somebody else who said she figured out. Do you remember the case of the missing girl, Joan Benet Ramsey? Do you remember that big? They said that's Erica Kirk.
Wait, what?
Yeah. And they put pictures side by side, and that she was sold into trafficking. She aged, sex trafficking. She aged up, and you could look at the photographs. This is all while the whatever the French first lady's name is proving with photographs. I don't know how you do that she's a woman. We're gonna
honestly that one.
That's gotta be a man.
Though. Yeah, that was pretty good. I don't know, but it's a weird. No matter what, the story is bonkers. Like,
it is kind of strange.
Like, she fell in love with him when he was 14. She was his teacher. That's weird. So even if she's a she, not a he, it's really a gross story. So either way, like, I mean, not everything Candace says is wrong, but boy, like I saw it on Facebook today. I had to comment because it's like literally people posting, how sports are Freemasonic, and they posted like the Freemason, what's it called? Oh my gosh, my mom's gonna be upset that I don't know the word. It's like the pencil, the drawing thing. What's that called?
Like the arch kind of like thing. Like
it's like the arches. It's the thing that you measure with. That you're kind of, I don't know. Mom, help me out here.
Yeah.
But anyway, and it had the Freemasonic symbol. And they're like proving that baseball is Masonic by putting the symbol as
the diamond. I've seen this phrase, yes. Yeah.
Oh man.
People really try.
Just end sometime. Just go and get some air, touch grass.
Just because you see a meme too doesn't mean there was a big meme going around that was like the number 47 is Masonic because that's the compass. Oh, I see somebody just said compass. Yeah, the compass, the angle of the compass is 47 degrees. And that meme was spreading like wildfire. If you look it up, it's not 47 degrees. People just believed it because a meme was circulating.
Exactly.
You fall like, look at that. Yeah. Kev, you know what Abraham Lincoln said. Never believe what you read on the internet. That's
I love that one. That's a good one. That's a good one.
It is. I just want to say one thing. I saw Father's comment there. Where Father's mentioned where I had said that at the time I told people that things were bad in the 50s, so they had to call a council. A lot of people this is what I said at the time. A lot of people left the church in spirit, but their bodies were still in the pews. So like they almost went culturally. They weren't necessarily well catechized. And I think if they were, maybe they would have left the Vatican II religion. But there were certainly issues. And I think there were problems mentioned that I've read about priests saying mass very sloppily, very quickly. It wasn't like everything was just, roses and unicorns pre-Vatican. There certainly were there issues. And I remember a gentleman I knew who he said this was all of us. My whole city went to mass on Sunday faithfully. We couldn't miss a day because that was God's day. But we spiritually inside of us, we had left the church. Just our bodies were present on Sunday. So that was what I would argue with people. That like people were leaving. They were still going, but we were losing the grip we had on the actual profession of
Yeah,
the
but
religion. People were so
let's
poor.
be
This
honest
was
though.
not that I go ahead.
People are
This is what I
only
would
spiritually there in groups when they're suffering, right? I think that's the reality of all
right,
history, that
right.
people really turn to God when they are really
When
needing
they're in the
God, and
hole,
it's a
yeah,
sad
atheists in
thing, and
foxholes.
yeah, it's a sad thing of all of us individually, right? When do we turn to God? I mean, typically we turn to God when we are having our worst time, when we're struggling the most, and rather than when we're doing well. We're not, that's oftentimes when we're the least spiritual, when we're the least thankful to God. And I think I think it's the same, say in the 1950s, they had suffered for a couple decades before that, but once you get to the 50s, things started to get a little more comfortable, and I could see that. You kind of get, you get a little, a little satisfied. You're safe where you are. You feel pretty good with yourself, and I think I think it's a really interesting, nuanced discussion, because I think a lot of it, yeah, a lot of it had to do, yeah, again with the education, the communist infiltration, and I think there was just a lot going on that made it happen, and I think a lot of it too was this kind of blind obedience to authority, which of course you have to have in the church, but you have to understand what the church is, right? So as you said, you have to be catechized. You have to be able to say, wait a second, my priest can't say that. So, if he says that, then he's wrong. And I
Right.
think that's what they lost. You look at the documents of Vatican II. How on earth could any of these clergymen go to Vatican II, read Sacrosanctum Concilium, and be like, "Oh, this is fine"? It's
Yeah.
crazy. How did you possibly sign that document? And I think it was this almost blind faith in the Pope for the conservatives.
Which, if you think about it, and I think that's why people say, "Oh, so many bishops signed the documents." Um, why? And I guess in essence, why wouldn't you have? I mean, like, I get it. Of course, there's heresy in there, but at the same time, like, you would never. And Bishop Sanborn has talked about this a few times. You would never have thought that, like, the Pope is not the Pope. You're insane. That's that's just brutal, brutal,
Sure.
brutal, 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 brutal. Like, to even think that. Let me just see what Father said here, and then I do have to get running. It's almost time for me, but let me see if oh no, that is, Father. Just to clarify, that's not what I believe. It's just what I argued at the time. This was when I was. This is when I was very much Novus Ordo-ish. We should all follow what Vatican II really said. And that I thought that things needed to be addressed. And I'm not saying I believe that now at all, but at the time, like, wow, 2012, 2011, that's what that's how we defended Vatican II. So
I just want to say, Portagusi, if you're gonna switch over and leave our channel while we're still live for Candace Owens, then I disown you.
her show is on too. Oh, you listen to her? Oh man, I can't.
It's sometimes, like, if she has a really interesting topic, I'll listen. But yeah, I can't get past a couple of minutes. There's
Maybe
just
Father
something.
can give that as a
There's
penance to
some
somebody.
way. At least she's better. I mean, it's kind of sad. I know we got to end here, but just real quickly. But it's like Megan Kelly. Like, I really like she's really smart and has really good guests. But man, a woman dropping f bombs is just absolutely unbearable to me. It's another one of those things, like talking about Pete Hegseth again. It's like, just, I don't know. I mean, men dropping it too drives me crazy. I think it's
It shouldn't
pathetic
happen.
and
It shouldn't
unmanly.
happen.
But women doing it like publicly, like on a podcast, and she does it all the time. She's like, ugh, nah, it's unfortunate, because I generally like what she does. But yeah,
Maybe she'll come on the show
that would be pretty cool.
after Taylor Marshall comes on.
I think she's a supposed Catholic. I would have some pretty tough questions for.
She's Opus Dei.
Is she that? Yeah, that wouldn't
Yes.
surprise me.
I'm just kind of, the last thing I'll say, and then we can log off. Nick Fuentes had that interview with her. He was too soft on her. He could have really delivered a knockout. He was very cordial. Should have
Yeah.
sent you. Should have sent you, Kev.
Oh yeah, I'm a meanie. As Father says here, you got to look into me. Though Matt's the CIA agent. I'm unfortunately pretty
There's
boring.
this.
And Father's known me since I was like 19. Was I 19 or 20?
There's this guy on Twitter who stalks my account who is 100% convinced that I am a Russian agent. And he continuously, if you search my name and type in those words, he comes up, he probably 200 times the past year. And he says, we all figured you out.
I'm a little disappointed that I don't have Twitter stalkers. I don't think I'm doing a good enough job. I think I gotta amp up my craziness.
Like, dude, a Russian agent, I'm going to go make ribs tonight. Like, that's not it. You really miss.
Well,
in the words of Joe Biden, anyway,
whatever. All right, well, everyone, we appreciate y'all for being here. I hope I didn't keep anyone in my house awake too long. It's 11:15 in the evening. We'll plan on being back here probably next Tuesday. For those of you who didn't already know, we're kind of switching over because we just like the live show. It's more fun to hang out with you guys, even if we're getting criticized of sinning publicly. It's still fun hanging out with the comment section, even then. Father Gecko, as always, pleasure to have you here. And Father, you got to come on a show again. That was fun. We did that. Ooh, it's been a while now, but we should do that. We should do the three of us and talk about what's going on.
I remember that.
That'd be fun. But yeah, let's Matt, we'll stay in touch. We'll probably be here next Tuesday unless we're not. And everyone, like, share, comment, subscribe, all that jazz, and we will see you next week.